Good afternoon, everyone, and we are happy to connect with you to discuss the reality of building a business. This training is brought to you at no cost because it's funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the United States Small Business Administration, or the US SBA, the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, and the Urban Juncture Foundation. I am pleased to be your presenter today. I'm Rebecca Chauncey, a business advisor here at the Illinois SBDC at Bill Bronzeville. Let's talk about today's agenda. Essentially, we're going to cover business myths. Yes, they do exist. Then we'll discuss a clear process to establish your business. And of course, there'll be time for questions and answers. While that's noted, the questions and answer portion will be at the end of today's session. There will be times throughout the training where you'll be asked to engage with me. So I kindly ask that you type your responses in the chat. You do have that ability. However, if you have a question, please type it in the Q&A section, which is at the bottom of your screen. If you move your mouse, you'll see that. You should type those questions in that section, and my colleague and our center director, Lauren, will share questions with me if relevant in the moment or during the Q&A period. So I think we are all set on the housekeeping rules. So let's move right into the first part with business myths. There are myths or widely held beliefs by some entrepreneurs. Can you guess what they are? Please, this is your first opportunity to type in the chat to share examples. What business myths can you think of? I'll give you, what about the 20 seconds to share. Okay, Gary says going to be rich. Remember, just a kind reminder to type your responses to my questions in the chat. But if you're going to ask a question, type that in the Q&A section. So yes, you're going to get rich. I would just add one word, immediately, right? Or instantly. Anyone else have an example of a business myth? Okay. Well, let me share one with you. That's everyone will buy the entrepreneur's products or services as soon as they open their businesses. Some aspiring business owners say, my company is online, so we're global and we serve everyone. While having a business online may allow you to reach more people than if you only sold your service or product in the city where you live, it doesn't mean that everyone throughout the world will buy from you. Let's see, someone else has added. Thank you. Demaya says another myth is startup businesses are easy. Right. It will take some work, and that is important for people to really understand. Another myth I love to share with you all is sometimes people will say, my target customer is anyone who can pay because each person can benefit from what we have at our company. Well, anyone who is willing to pay for your products and services can certainly do so, but that doesn't mean they benefit most from them. If you sell baby clothes, would it make sense to promote the business to teenagers who only are focused on their attire? I would say no. Or if you have services to benefit homeowners with damaged roofs, marketing those services to renters isn't ideal. It's crucial to know who your target market is, and it's very important to be realistic about your business goals overall to see if it makes sense to build a business. Fortunately, there is a process to help you think through the details of your business. This can save you effort, money, and time that you can't get back. And before we move on, let's see who else. And we have another myth that is shared. You need large amounts of capital to get started. It depends. That's a fair statement, but it certainly depends on the type of business. You definitely need to have capital. And that's a perfect segue into my next point that we're going to cover business myths as it relates to grants. So one myth related to business grants is you can get grants to start your business. The truth is, everyone, startup business grants are practically non-existent. Hear me loud and clear. Those that are available are highly competitive, including you would see a sweepstakes or for highly specialized areas such as technology. Typically, this is the truth. Entrepreneurs start businesses using earned income that may be from a salary from a job, personal savings, funds from loved ones, and or loans. Another myth as it relates to grants and this whole realm of what we do here at the Small Business Development Center or SBDCs, the fact that we're part of the SBA and can assist with SBA loans and funding. The truth is SBDCs are funded, as you heard when I started the training, we're funded in part by the U.S. Small Business Administration or SBA, but we're not part of the SBA. There's a big difference there. So SBDC advisors can assist in preparing you for loan readiness as you prepare to apply for funding from the SBA or other sources. And then the last myth, Small Business Development Centers or SBDCs have grants for business owners. SBDCs don't provide business funding, and that is the truth. When funding opportunities are available, SBDC advisors inform clients of external opportunities. If clients decide to apply for those opportunities, they can contact SBDC advisors to review the responses to feature grant applications. Any questions or additional comments about those business myths? Okay, now it's time to review the process I mentioned to help you think through the details of your business and if it really makes sense to have one. Let's start with general business considerations. And please note that this slide and the following slides are connected to a list that is a part of the Starting Your Business in Illinois Handbook, which we share with clients or training attendees, and sometimes clients too, during our How to Do Business in Illinois training. And some of you may be registered for that, which takes place next Wednesday, January 25th. So as far as these general business considerations are concerned, the first thing you want to ask yourself, what business industry are you entering? Then what products or services will you sell? Who will use those products and services? List the product or service supplier. So for example, if you have a bakery and there are specific ingredients such as your flour or a particular egg even that you use that allows you to prepare the baked goods just right, you would list those suppliers. And then list the labor and staff you require to provide your products or services. Here's an opportunity. It's time for you to engage once again. Tell us what business industries you're entering or you're a part of now. Again, please type those in the chat. Which business industry are you entering or are you part of now? Okay, we have custom cabinetry and carpentry. So again, which business industry are you entering or are you already a part of? Graphic tees, okay, great. A yoga studio, hot yoga studio, let me clarify. Great, okay, so we have a range of business industries, which is great to see. Thank you so much for your participation. Let's continue on with this process. So think about the basic requirements for success. Does the product, service, or business serve an underserved need? And note, as you're answering these questions, the responses are rooted in research. from articles to sometimes you may have to look at some association websites and reports to some online searches, articles, you name it, wherever you can find real research, because the responses to these questions are rooted in facts and research, not just your feeling. So the second question, does the product, service, business serve an existing market in which demand exceeds supply? And finally, can the product, service, or business compete with existing competition because of an advantageous situation? That can include better price, location, something to that effect. You should be able to say yes to one or more of those questions, again, after you've done the proper research. Then, major considerations. You have to find out, are there any causes that make required factors of production unavailable? Some of those causes can include restrictions, monopolies, or shortages. We certainly have experienced that, right, within the last couple of years. Also, as far as the causes that make required factors of production unavailable, some of that may include unreasonable cost, scarce skills, energy, equipment, technology, material, process, or personnel. The next question you should ask yourself in research, are capital requirements for entry or continuing operations excessive? I mean, really look at how much it's going to cost for you to start this business. Are there any extraordinary circumstances that would make financing hard to obtain that might include bankruptcy or bad credit? Particularly in the latter example, if you have bad credit, it's important that you're able to, and you're working to improve that, because having excellent personal credit is definitely helpful as you build and maintain your business. And then lastly, are there potential detrimental environmental effects? For example, if your business requires use of a particular chemical, are you ensuring that you dispose of that chemical in the proper way so that the community where your business is located and just as you handle that chemical as a whole is done well, so that there isn't a detrimental environmental effect? Are there any questions?
Rebecca.
Yes.
Not a question, but I wanted to just chime in on one of the points that you just mentioned here as well. Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren. I'm the Center Director. On the point of extraordinary circumstances that would make financing hard to obtain, Rebecca noted about your personal credit. I just wanted to add to that because this is another one of those that actually falls a bit into that myth, not a bit, it falls into that myth category, which is as long as I establish business credit, I should be able to be fine, or that will outweigh any personal credit issues that I have. The reality is that as a small business, as a startup business, certainly as a single member LLC business or a solopreneur business, your personal credit is your business credit. It is the only, you can work to establish business credit, that's true, by having vendor accounts. But the reality is that until your business has aged enough, so you have enough years of service under your belt and has accumulated a significant amount of assets, so profits and also just assets attached to the business, what any financial institution is going to be more concerned with is your personal financial picture over and above anything else. Because at the end of the day, until you get to a certain level, you are your business. Your business doesn't exist. It cannot function without you. And so that's what's going to be the primary consideration.
Great, thank you. Excellent points, Lauren. All right, I think that takes us to the next part of the process to establish your business. Desired income. So this is usually a favorite of many. How much income do you desire annually? And then, are you prepared to earn less in the first 1 to 3 years? Type in the chat if you know why the question is asked, are you prepared to earn less in the first 1 to 3 years? Anyone have an idea of why you have to ask? Business costs, yes, great point. And I'll add to that, thank you for sharing. I'll add to that, you also need to just be mindful that typically you don't make a large amount of money in the first few years of business. So you just have to be honest with yourself and note. So if you answer, for example, the first question, the income you desire annually is $100,000. Yes, Demaya, thank you. You also, she makes the point, you don't profit initially, there's trial and error. Excellent point. Thank you, Gary. Yes, that's another great point too. Cash flow to pay employees. So back to those expenses. And so if, again, you desire to have an income of $100,000 annually, this takes us to question 3, what minimum amount of income do you require? So factor in what it looks like to maintain your livelihood or lifestyle. Maybe you desire $100,000, but you would be okay if you made $60,000, considering the things that you need to maintain in your life, and that would make it worthwhile to have the business. Question 4 asks, what financial investment is required for your business? So that's every cost associated with opening or launching the business, from licenses to, if you get a brick and mortar, the cost to rent or own that particular space. Those are just some examples. So all those costs equal your financial investment required for the business. Number 5 asks, how much could you earn by investing this money in the stock market? So if, for example, these particular questions help you to understand multiple ways that you can generate income. And so as far as the stock market is concerned, let's say that the financial investment required for your business is $10,000. If you take the $10,000 and invested that amount in the stock market, how much could you potentially earn? You could learn that through multiple ways, including connecting with a portfolio manager or your financial advisor. But this is, again, just an opportunity for you to see, well, if I invested the $10,000 in the stock market, would I potentially make more or perhaps the same amount as if you invested in an actual business? Question 6 says, how much could you earn by working for someone else? And so I bring up the example again of, I mentioned the bakery earlier. If you are the supervisor, if you were to look up how much one earns as a supervisor for a bakery or the manager of a bakery, you could see what that salary is on websites such as Glassdoor or Indeed.com to find out what that amount is. And then the last question asks, what is the average return on investment for a business of your type? That is very important to note, to get an idea of, yeah, what could I actually make on average by investing in this particular business? The following questions ultimately remind you that you must seek both a return on your investment in your own business, as well as a reasonable salary for the time you spend in operating it. And in particular, when you add the amounts in 5 and 6, you would then ask yourself, if this income is greater than what you can realistically expect from your business, are you prepared to forego the additional income to be your own boss with only the prospects of more substantial profit and income in future years? That's really something that you have to be honest with yourself about. And sometimes that's worthwhile, and sometimes you may find maybe not so much. Now let's talk about the customer base. This slide and the next one are related to the market analysis. The primary objective of it is to provide you with a realistic projection of sales. And the first way to see that is by outlining your customer base. So we have questions like, from which geographical areas can you realistically expect to draw customers? What is the makeup of the population in these areas? Average family size, age distribution, and per capita income. And even this is a good point to note, even if you have an e-commerce business, but I don't believe any of you noted that, but I'll just give the example. If you had an e-commerce business, while yes, many people from whoever has internet access could potentially purchase from you, it would still be interesting to know in your sales where the people reside. Like it could be that your company is based in Chicago, so perhaps a number of your sales are actually coming from people in Illinois or Indiana, surrounding areas, because they're more aware of your company. And then as far as this second question is concerned about the makeup of the population in these areas, when you think of, particularly if you have a brick and mortar business, there are certain, and let's say your business is based in Bronzeville. So it would be realistic to see what the population makeup is in the per capita income and age distribution for surrounding neighborhoods such as the South Loop and Hyde Park, because then you can get an idea of what people make, and ultimately that should speak to their ability to purchase from you. Another question to research is, what do you know about the population growth trend in these areas? And lastly, if you appeal to only a portion of the market, is that segment enough to be profitable? So there may be, let's say, 5,000 people in the market, but if you only connected with 1,000 of them, would that allow you to have a profitable company? It'd be interesting to see, because it depends on what you charge for your services or products. Any questions? I think we are okay and tracking just fine. Great. Let's talk about competition. Yes, there is competition in business, right? Who are your major competitors and their strengths and weaknesses? Typically, I recommend that business owners or soon to be business owners look for 3 competitors, and particularly businesses that have been open within 5 years, because they're more of a direct competitor than going back to this bakery example. While some people may purchase their baked goods from you, then it would be unfair for you to say, for example, to include the Jewel Bakery, because they've been open for years, right? That grocery store is well known, and so that wouldn't be a direct competitor, but rather if there's a smaller bakery that's nearby, near your location of your company, then you could see, okay, this is a true competitor. What are their strengths and weaknesses? Because ideally, where they're weak, you're strong. And with the strengths, you at least match them or exceed those strengths. And then ask, or research rather, are you familiar with factors concerning your competitor's price structure, product lines, location, source of supply, promotional activities, and image from a consumer's viewpoint? This will require, of course, today, one of today's main words, if you don't remember anything else, is, as it relates to what we're talking about, is research, right? Research. And then the last question, do you know of any new competitors or competitors' plans for expansion? Have any companies of your type gone out of business lately? If so, why? This is where it becomes important to view business reports and glean insight from those, so that you could see, well, okay, the industry isn't doing so well, or, I mean, what's the reason behind that? Is it something, does this cause you to want to pause for now on your business idea, or does it mean you might want to move into another direction? All right, any questions? Okay, looking good. Continuing under the competition, you want to find out do you know the sales and market share and profit levels of each competitor? Do you know whether the sales and market share and profits of each competitor are increasing, decreasing, or stable? And then lastly, can you compete with your competition? For that first question, as far as sales and market share and profit levels are concerned, that may be challenging to find out, particularly for a business that has only been open within 5-10 years, and if they're not publicly traded. But it's just also something to consider in your research. Let's talk about other considerations. Are you aware of the major risks associated with your product, business, or service? Can you minimize these major risks, or are they beyond your control? Are there major questions remaining about your proposed venture? Do the above questions arise because of a lack of data, management skills, or a flaw in your idea that needs to be addressed? Those are definitely important considerations. Here's another opportunity for you to type in the chat. You have been so great in engaging with me. What's one major risk associated with your business or soon to be business? Have you thought about that? Or this may be an opportunity for you to think about that briefly. What's one major risk associated with your business or soon to be business? And you could type that in the chat. Okay, all right, thank you. Gary says workers' comp and liability insurance. Good points, good points. Anyone else? What's a major risk associated with your business or soon to be business? Bidding a job incorrectly, losing, oh, they're coming in quickly, okay. Losing money but still have to follow through, good point. Another risk, unfamiliarity, excuse me, of the population with your product. They don't know that they need it and the benefits. Property damage for homeowners, okay. Stability and distribution, and a saturated market. Very good. Thank you all for sharing. Just really good points to note. And does that mean that you should move forward in the business? Not necessarily, but once again, it's worth being real, right? With yourself and the process or risks that are associated with developing the company that you're considering.
Rebecca,
Lauren?
I just want to interject for a second.
Sure.
Demaya noted saturated market, right? So that's something to thank you for all the examples that were given. That's one that I think, you know, everyone give a bit of thought to, because that to me is a key thing, as particularly on this topic of determining, you know, is your business idea a good one or not? If there is a thought or potential of market saturation, I think that's a very key consideration to say, okay, should I add to this market? And if so, what are my key differentiators? Because at the end of the day, that's going to determine whether this is a sustainable idea or not. If it's a market that is already saturated, it's like, what are my differentiators and on what level am I going to compete? And price shouldn't be your main factor of this is how I'm going to compete. Because if you're not Walmart, right? And so trying to always be the low cost option will likely price you out of business. And so that is a very, very key one to take into account that I think often people don't take into account is market saturation.
Thank you, Lauren. And that takes us to the end. After answering the questions we discussed, you will position yourself to decide if passing on your business idea is best, or if building it and creating a business plan is ideal. Some of the information you list from the topics we addressed can be copied into a business plan. Be gentle with yourself as you move through changes that come to establish your business, right? Remember, embrace progress over perfection and learn from missteps, and business success will come. As Biz Stone says, timing, perseverance, and 10 years of trying will eventually make you look like an overnight success. Are there any questions? Any additional questions related to what we discussed in the reality of building a business? Okay. If you haven't already done so, you can sign up as a client or as a part of eCenter Direct. That's where you signed up for today's training, and you can get one-on-one assistance. We can assist you with developing your business plan, advise on foundational accounting, legal, and finance questions, and where appropriate, provide referral options to professional service providers. So once again, you can sign up in eCenter as you did for today's training, and you also can reach out to us via email there, and then our phone number is listed. Oh, wonderful. Thank you for your feedback. We so appreciate it, and we love providing very helpful and relevant training to business owners or aspiring business owners like you. Similarly, your feedback is appreciated. So you will receive a recording of today's training, and I kindly ask that you will complete the survey that's related to it. If you have some suggestions for future training, you can list that in your survey responses. And again, we like to provide the most relevant training to help business owners excel. And I think that, oh, you're very welcome. Thank you all so much for being responsive and engaging, and many thanks to Lauren for sharing her insights too. We look forward to hopefully, whether you move forward in business or not, this gave you some things to really think about, and here's to great business success. Thanks again for your time and attention. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks again for your feedback, and continue to have a great day and week.